CGI.
Does that look okay? You're the editor. You're the
I think it's
producer.
Remember that one time it crapped out and you guys had to do everything again?
Yeah, that sucked. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. As always, I'm Robbie. This is Kyle. Kyle, how are you tonight?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. And now tonight, we have to my right a brand new special guest on our show, our pal Scott. Scott, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me, Robbie and Kyle. It's good to be here.
Nice to have you on, buddy.
So, for tonight's episode, what we thought would be fun to do, we are in New England. It is December. You're playing with the cord. We are in New England. It is December, and that means cold weather, naturally. Yep. So what we thought would be fun to do, nice Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Thank you.
What we thought would be fun to do would be to discuss cold weather and sports, because obviously, especially around this time of year, depending on what part of the country you live in, cold weather can have quite an impact on sports. And so, let's jump right into this. And where I first want to go is sort of a trend that's really sort of caught on in the past, probably about 5-10 years or so, outdoor professional and college hockey games. And Scott, I want to start with you on this, because I know you like me, have been to a few of these outdoor college hockey games.
Yeah.
Sort of talk about the atmosphere of a game like this, where you're out. Sometimes it could be snowing, it could be rain. We've seen rain at some of these games. Obviously, the cold with it, most of them being in January. Just talking about sort of the atmosphere that you've sort of been in when you've been at these games, and sort of how a game like this in cold weather sort of has an impact on not only the fans but the players as well on the ice. It's sort of a new atmosphere for them.
Right. So actually, I went to school in upstate New York. So, just like Buffalo had their 10 feet of snow in like 1 week, they had RITs doubleheader on a Saturday in January, or in December. So, it snowed probably two feet that day, and I don't think it got above 18 degrees. So, I think Fenway, it rained this past year.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
In Rochester, it snowed a couple feet. And I think, especially in the colder weather, for the fans, everyone's bundled up because they're all wearing like 4 layers. They're all freezing. We actually have somebody in our student section that wears a morph suit or a super fan suit.
Oh, so, yeah, one of those like you put over your head kind of thing.
Right. Oh, a full body like spandex suit.
Full body spandex. So you're literally Spider-Man without like the eyes and stuff, right?
Right. You can't see anything.
That's nuts. I don't know if I could do that, but it
sounds
fun though.
But in 16 degrees,
that's even
nuts.
It's
even more nuts.
That's even nutser.
Right.
More nuts, yeah.
Yeah,
more nuts.
You got it. You're good.
So the fans are really cold, yeah. and then you have the impact that the cold weather actually has on the ice. Since the snow is coming down so hard, you get to the point where the puck moves a lot slower. The game slows down a lot because it can't move through the snow as much. So actually, what they were doing is every 5 minutes. For the women's game, they didn't learn to kind of have volunteers sweep off the snow. So the players are doing it. But then for the men's game, they finally learned that, every 5 minutes they should be sweeping off the ice so that they can actually have an ice surface to play on.
Well, you were actually kind of involved in that.
I was.
Nice.
Every 5 minutes I got on the ice with a few of my friends and a lot of other volunteers. We skated up and down the ice and
nice.
swept off. I think we swept off before warm-ups, swept off before the game started, and it was a pretty unbelievable experience. But I'm not sure how it is in the warmer weather, but especially when it's the colder weather, they said the Zambonis can actually go on the ice and do a cut just because the ice is so cold that it would just ruin the ice with putting down water and snow. So they actually just have to dry cut the ice. And since the ice gets so cold, you actually have little pieces of the ice where it'll actually crack. So you started getting holes in the middle of the ice. And when you had 2 games in one day,
That's a lot of cracks.
there were a lot of cracks.
Yeah.
So I think, especially in the cold weather in December, it's I almost feel bad for the staff that has to deal with the games when they have to go for a full week, because in Rochester I know they had their AHL team play, then the day after they had 2 college teams play,
Yeah.
and the day after they had more college teams play, and then through the rest of the week they had high school teams.
Well, Fenway is kind of the same way
Right.
when they do it at Fenway. So
Yeah.
they're going for a couple weeks straight
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that.
And then of course in 2010 when we had the Winter Classic,
Yeah.
and then we had more. But it was like, yeah, I think for the best way to look at it though is from the players' perspective, I think, and just looking at it, the players enjoyed it. They all, I think it was the one moment of their college careers where unless they were with the Crews that won a few championships, then I think this was kind of their number one moment in their college experience, and they really enjoyed it.
Definitely. And so, and I know, I went to Frozen Fenway, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. The one back in 2012 I went to, and I was definitely bundled up out there. It was pretty cold. I actually only stayed. It was a doubleheader, but I only stayed for the first game. But it was pretty cold, and definitely all the fans. You know, you gotta find any way you can to stay warm.
Oh, yeah.
It can be pretty. It can be pretty tough out there. Kyle, I want to ask you. I mean, obviously you haven't been to any of these, but just sort of your thoughts on playing an outdoor hockey game at any level. You know, whether it be high school, college, or pro. Is that something that you think is a good idea, bad idea? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, outdoor hockey, it goes way back. 'Cause, I mean, that's how like a lot of kids would play pickup games, right? That's
Yeah.
they take the hose, like ice down the driveway or the street, and they have like the really big, crazy, epic matches of hockey. So I actually support that. Yeah, I mean, as long as the roads or the road or the area is evenly paved, you don't want to have like like a lot of potholes, because that would kind of
Yeah,
suck a
that
little
would
bit.
hurt.
Or you jump in the pond and you actually use some pond hockey.
Yeah, there you go.
That's also pretty fun.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
And then-
yeah.
And then actually, I think it's becoming more of a thing now. But people are actually setting up backyard rinks. So they set up.
Yes, I have seen those.
I did that at my house for like 3 or 4 years. You just build up. We built up wooden walls, put down a tarp. Somebody came over with a huge hose and just sprayed on water until it hit the top of the tarp. Waited for it to freeze, and then it was like you could just walk outside and jump on the tarp, and you get it for the entire season.
No, you see that a
That's
lot.
pretty
You
easy,
see that a
actually.
lot
It's
more
pretty
now.
nice.
Oh, you do, yeah.
I know a few places
Yeah.
in town I've seen going around. They have those outside rinks that Scott was just talking about. Yeah.
Actually, the college I went to, Wheaton, attempted to actually put one of those in, like right by the chapel area. There's this like whole kind of back field where sometimes you'll have like events and stuff, but they actually did attempt to put an ice hockey rink there, but it
Didn't
didn't
work
really,
out very well.
Didn't really work out.
Did it freeze at least?
Tiny bit. No one really ever attempted though, because it got kind of warm pretty quickly. So
Mhm.
yeah, we were a little hesitant about going on it,
Yeah.
especially when the temperature kind of rose up a little bit. So
Yeah. My backyard was not flat when we did this,
Oh,
so you had one corner with all the water kind of went to that one corner,
okay.
and then it just became like, oh, all right, so just let's keep that in mind for next year, that all the water's going to be rushing over that corner.
There you go. We could do some mad tricks on it, right?
Right.
You want to go like all out
Well,
pro
the
skating.
the puck will just keep going. I think we had a couple of times where the puck would
Puck just
actually
goes into one
it
corner.
would just
all
go
the
to
time.
that. Well, it would go to that corner. The water would end up flattening out, but it would go to the corner, and since there was no wall because it just went up to the top of the wall,
Yeah.
the puck would just go off the rink.
Oh, okay. Well, then, there
So
you go.
there you go. But it's. I think my uncle was saying he was going to try to build one. We had a couple of. You used to do it. Just the neighbors would come over on a random day and just come play some hockey. It'd be
Oh,
fun.
there you go.
Yeah.
The one last thing I'll say about this particular subject is you definitely have to have like the perfect winter weather for
Oh yeah.
to make this work, because last year, I think
Yeah.
Scott, you were referring to this earlier. Last year at Frozen Fenway Park, they actually had for one of the games a rain delay because it was raining during the game. So they actually had to delay the game due to rain. And the
Yeah.
first time I think I've ever seen a hockey game a rain delay. So I think that was definitely
Yeah,
a
it's like
definitely a very interesting concept. But you know, I mean, they had to do what they had to do. But
Yep. I think we actually had snow delays instead. So every 5 minutes they'd have a media timeout, and then we'd all jump on the ice,
yeah.
and then to do the ice. So you guys had warm weather alerts. We had
Cold weather.
It was
very
cold weather
alerts.
Wow.
and every 5 minutes they were.
Yeah.
The fans were not happy, but the refs were happy. You got to make the refs happy.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you kind of got to get that like happy medium. It sounds
Right,
like,
yeah.
right?
Plus,
Not too cold, not too hot.
when
The
you're
three
trying to
bears
shoot
kinda-
the puck, and it's just getting caught in snow, it becomes a little bit of a problem.
Oh, it could
Oh,
be.
man.
I'm
Plus-
sure it could be pretty frustrating
Yeah.
for the players.
Well, and then between periods, we were trying to fill up the holes, but then they would come back out for the next period, and people would just skate over the holes again, and it wouldn't freeze.
Don't
in
want
time.
to be injured.
So you know, people just
No.
we had refs that just kept on telling us, like, we know, but not having time to freeze. But yeah,
Yeah,
That's what happens.
yeah.
So anyway, now we're gonna move on to a sport that is also definitely has its share of winter weather, especially towards the end of the season. Usually, football, which is obviously depending. Again, there's a lot of this depends on what part of the country you're in, but some
True.
areas certainly when you get into those December, January games, it could be
Yeah.
quite cool. I want to start off with Kyle here because Kyle, you played 4 years of high school football, and so I want to get sort of your take from a player's perspective, having been in those late October, early mid-November practices and games where the temperature is starting to go down a lot of occasions. Sort of what effect did it have on you as a player, being in cold weather as opposed to more warmer weather, I guess
Yeah, like
we'll call it.
the 89 degree August weather. Yeah, I know, it's the strangest change. At the beginning it's like 89 degrees, then you end the season with like maybe like 20, 30 degrees.
It snowed a couple
Yeah,
times
it
at
does.
like the Thanksgiving game.
It did.
It
that
snowed
was-
this year for the Thanksgiving game. That was interesting.
Yeah. You kind of have to. All right, so as a player, you kind of have to figure out kind of like you have to kind of work with the traction. The good thing is at least the cleats are pretty good with like the grass and they can handle the mud and stuff like that. But you still gotta kind of, because sometimes if you push off too hard. I mean, there have been a lot of times where I'll slip in the mud or I've slipped like in the snow and like or ice or something like that. So you gotta kind of like a little bit change the way you play or how you get off how you get off your feet, especially as a lineman. Like I did mostly the line. So you kind of have to sort of change your mentality a little bit on that. Plus, I will say the pads did help, especially like the quads and like the shoulder pads. They actually did a pretty decent job keeping you warm, but it always kind of helped. You had to, it always helped to kind of get some like Under Armour, whether it be like the pants or like the Under Armour, kind of like when I'm sure when you run out in the cold, you wear those too, right? Sometimes like the Under Armour.
I just have a couple layers on the top, which are
Yeah.
pretty thick tops, just to cover the arms.
Yeah.
Nothing for the legs though.
Yeah, I gotta
There you
point out that
go.
this guy is wearing shorts right now. It's like 30 degrees outside,
That's-
so he's
that's
a
skill.
true warrior when it comes to cold weather running.
It's like one of my friends would say, one of my good friends from football, he'd be like, cold, it's just a state of mind.
All you
True-
gotta do,
true
all you gotta do
thought.
as you're running is you just imagine it's 80 degrees and you're in a tropical area.
There you go. Exactly.
I did
It's,
that.
it's on the
I
mind.
did that in high school track a couple times.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it was like the winter track. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That was
But
nuts.
that's indoor, but
No, but you run outdoors.
oh
Yeah,
really?
they
you do
actually
other,
make-
and you do other things outdoors.
Especially, yeah, like the distance runners, they actually do make them go like Elm Bank and stuff
Really?
like that,
Yeah.
different parts of town like that. So,
Brave
Yeah.
people.
yeah, not the throwers, because the throwers actually have to throw inside because they don't want all the equipment to get like filled with snow and
Yeah,
stuff.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
'Cause that equipment can be kind of costly sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Scott, let me ask you. You know, I mean, obviously you and I sort of more look at football from a fan's perspective, but
Yeah.
obviously around here, you know, I've been to a few Patriots games in November, December, or in high school games and college games, and it could get pretty chilly. And sort of from a fan's
right.
perspective, you definitely have to bundle up, and it can. You know, you don't like it, but you like cheering on your team, so you kind of get used to it to a certain extent.
Right. Well, I guess kind of a little bit back to the hockey because it's kind of all goes in hand. You kind of as you're standing in the stands, you're moving around a little bit just to keep yourself
Yeah.
warm. There's ever a little bit of a break,
Right.
maybe halftime or between periods. We were jogging around the baseball field
Oh, there you go.
because we were jogging around the baseball stadium, or you would kind of jump up and down a little bit on the risers or on the stands,
Yeah.
just to try to keep the blood flowing, keeping yourself a little bit warm, because you just stand there and or sit on cold steel bleachers.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work too well
No.
for you.
No.
So a lot of the times, a lot of the times I think with the Raiders, we were sitting down, for maybe a little bit. But a lot of the times I think when we were, there's a lot of standing.
Yeah,
So you don't have to sit on the cold bleachers.
yeah, no, yeah.
Mhm.
For the hockey game, I think it was we stand for the entire
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
it just is like it's you just bundle up, you move around a little bit, but it's
That's probably the best way of doing it, right? Like running. Yeah, even as a football player, it was awesome when we got to the chance to like sprint or jog. We had all
Oh,
these
I'm
types
sure.
of
yeah.
like during
You
practice.
get warmed up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Going back to the hockey thing, you know it's cold when you're warmer in a hockey rink than you are outside.
Seriously.
Because there have been times there's actually been warmer in the hockey rink than it is
Yeah.
outdoors. So
Classic
that
Boston
way you know
weather.
it's cold.
Classic Boston weather.
Alright,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
now I want to sort of wrap us up a little bit here, but I want to sort of talk about, hey, Scott, I guess I'll start with you on this. Sort of we talked a little about football and hockey and stuff like that, but other sports related to winter weather, outdoor sports related to winter weather, or other outdoor winter sports experiences that you've had where you've sort of been entrenched in that cold weather and sort of what, again, like just sort of going off the theme here, but like what sort of effect that's had basically.
Well, yeah. So first, I would say my family and I are big skiers.
Yeah.
So a lot of the
Oh,
times,
nice.
out east especially, it can get into the negatives.
Yeah.
Depending where you are.
Sure, yeah.
If you just keep going further north, some places out east can get really cold,
Yeah.
and especially sometimes if you fall, and you fall in the snow, it just gets even colder.
Because you get all wet probably from the snow and then it's
Right.
like
And then it all just
freezes.
Then it all just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
But what was fun was we started going out west a little bit. I think we have since I was in I think I have been out there for 9 years now, 9, 10 years
Like
almost.
Colorado.
Colorado, Utah.
Oh,
So
wow, okay.
so actually it can be 30s, which is actually pretty warm for skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where there's a cycle. The cycle goes, you get a full day of powder, where like snow like a foot or two. So you're actually skiing through. You're actually getting colder because you have snow up to like here that you're that you're skiing through. So your feet get freezing.
Ooh.
You get to the top of the mountain. It's wind is howling. And if it's still snowing, it's even worse. But then you go find especially when it's snowing, you just ski closer to the trees, and then you can actually see, because otherwise it's just a whole whiteout and you can't see anything. But then a lot of the time, once you get back down to the chair, since it's about a 3,000 foot difference in the summit to the base, you actually get pretty warm, because there's normally like a 10-degree difference. So if when you're constantly moving and you get to the bottom of the mountain, you actually get you get to the bottom, you're sweating. You get to the top, you're freezing. So it's just kind of like on the really cold days, it just becomes, all right, let's just not stop until we get to the bottom, because we're that cold, and we just wanna try to stay warm. But a lot of the times it just becomes like lunchtime, you get a hot chocolate, try to warm yourself up. But it's a cold sport.
I'm sure.
It's a cold sport. And then
Skiing, yeah.
I guess the other one, not skiing, would be kind of hand in hand with what Kyle has done, a lot of track. And I now run consistently all year round, somehow in shorts. I don't know why.
I was about to say, that's like
I don't know why.
That's a real talent there.
But it's
Or just a real like state of mind.
yeah.
You get the right state of mind for I think that.
You get the
For
cold.
whatever kind of weather.
You get a little bit of a cold tolerance, and then it just becomes, you know what? You realize, my legs are not as cold, but my upper body gets colder, so you layer up more on the upper body, less on the lower body, and then it just becomes like you just run through whatever. The coldest ones are the days where it's snowing, or when it has just snowed, and you'll actually get snow. I had snow one day up to my knees, where I was running, and I actually was running through it in shorts. So that day was not exactly a warm day, because I was breaking trail, and trying to just run down through an area where I probably shouldn't have gone,
Wow.
just because it was untracked and pretty high levels of snow. But you just kind of figure out how to get by, and then it just kind of becomes like, if you're not running alone, which a lot of times I did in like track. If you're not running alone, you kind of you just all get through together.
Yeah.
There you
It's
go.
a bit of a bonding experience, which is pretty nice.
Teamwork.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
There you go. It is
Or,
better
yes.
like working
Yeah,
out
let's all go freeze. Let's all go do it together, so it's kind of all one
You can
thing.
push each other through
That's right.
through the cold.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's
You
true.
kind of get to the point where if you want to stay warm, you just run faster, and
There you
it normally works.
Get that body
Yeah.
heat going.
And
Get
to
the
keep
body
to
going.
keep with each other, you can always like hit. So if one person sees another person running faster, they're like, oh, I can run. You guys can kind of all keep up with each other, kind of thing. Like
Right.
be like motivators. So that's a good
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
And Kyle, do you have any other, sort of anything to add to the whole track and field thing, or any other sort of experiences with cold weather and sports?
Well, actually, I got a really funny story about so one time I was throwing in track. So basically, the moral of the story is never throw shot put in the snow. Never throw anything in the snow, basically. So basically, okay. So in high school, we decided, hey, it was indoor track. I think the gym was being used, because that's where we usually threw. We
Right.
usually would throw shot put and disc in the gym.
Probably from wrestling.
But yeah, he was. Yeah, you're right. It was always those wrestlers.
It's always
They
wrestling
took up
guys.
The gym.
Yep. or the dancers getting ready for basketball.
Yeah,
There was one of those.
yeah, it was always like filled up with something. So what we
Join
did
those
was,
other teams.
Join those other teams. Oh, stop. No. So one day, our coach decided, hey, you know what? Why don't we take the throwing implements and go outside? And we were like, okay, fine.
What
All
the
right.
heck?
What the heck?
Not a bad idea.
We'll go. Whatever. We didn't think much of it at the time.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. What could go wrong? Yeah. So basically, what happened was, I think, what did we do? It was either discus or shot put. Maybe, no, I think it was discus. So we decided to throw a discus, like right in the snow, and we've been doing that for a little bit. And at one point, one of the throwers, I think it was, okay. It was one of the throwers I remember went up, threw a disc, and it landed in the snow, but we couldn't find it. In fact, not only could we not find it, just for like that, we actually had, when we left, we literally couldn't find it for the entire day, for the entire practice, and I think the next time we saw it was literally like a few months later.
Snow melted.
When the snow melted, and we were like, oh, there it is. Oh, there's a missing discus.
Oh,
Nice.
So that's why don't ever throw in the snow. Try to get yourself like a Reggie Lewis center, like some kind of indoor track to do it
Yeah.
with like a net so you don't hit people in the face with. Just do it indoor.
The moral of the story is don't throw in the snow.
Don't throw in the snow because you're gonna lose your thing, especially shot put. I mean, my God. Actually, it might have been a shot put because because they're so heavy when you throw them. No, I think it was a shot put. Because they're so heavy, they just go right through the snow and you can't find them. So it's like,
I'm sure. I get one experience I'll add. Is I've had the opportunity a couple times over the years to coach high school baseball.
oh,
And
there you go.
we start practice in like mid-March when it's still cold and it still is snowing.
Yeah.
And I remember the last time I did it, which was a couple years back, like the first 2 weeks of practice, the field was just like covered in snow. So you really have to like adjust what you're doing, because you talk about having gym space. Well, we didn't have we had to share the turf field at the school with like 3 other teams. So we
Really?
so we would have like practices where we'd be out there for like a half hour, then in the gym for like a half hour, and then luckily we had like an indoor batting cage at the school, so we could go in there for like
that's
for
nice.
time to do hitting and stuff like that. But
That
it
makes
can
sense.
be definitely, as a coach, you definitely have to be prepared for plan B, basically.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to, because we did have like the second day of practice there was a snowstorm, so like that sort of backtracked us for quite a while. So
Okay.
so that, it happens. Obviously, we're in New England, we're not in Arizona where it's 90 degrees year round. But definitely it can be a logistical nightmare at times, as I know it was in that particular case. Speaking of baseball, we're going to move on to the last little portion of our show here. As many of you probably know, John Lester, who we discussed on a couple shows, did sign, but in between our last shows here, did sign with the Chicago Cubs, much to the chagrin of Red Sox fans like myself and Kyle and Sky.
It didn't happen. He's still with the Red Sox.
See, that's where the Inception ending comes in again. Like, was he really with the Cubs, or was he with the Red Sox the whole time? Maybe the Cubs are the Red Sox.
Hey, Theo's over there now. We're starting to just build us back up.
Red Sox
There you go.
Central. But I guess let's
Take
just
notes at night, Shyamalan. Sorry.
You're really going into those nerdy references
Yeah,
today.
I'm doing a lot of nerdy movie references. I apologize.
That's alright. We forgive you. We knew what we were getting into. But let's get into this briefly here. Scott, I'll start with you. Just sort of your thoughts on the end of an era. I mean, obviously, we know John Lester wasn't with the team, after he was traded back in July. So we sort of had a pre-taste of life without John Lester. But now, sort of your thoughts now that he officially is no more with the Red Sox, now a full member of the Chicago Cubs.
So I'm really bummed because I really liked him, and he was once Beckett left. I think he was once Beckett left, Schilling retired, Martinez was gone. He was kind of like the go-to pitcher, so I liked watching him play. It was just an ace, night in and night out. And then, for some reason, Ben Cherington decided to trade away our entire pitching staff besides Buchholz. So
yeah, the one player that you probably would have much rather gone rid of, but I digress.
Maybe last year, 2013, he started off 11-0. So
oh yeah, no,
that was at least nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know, when he's not consistent and he gets injured from
don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on Buchholz.
But so I was, well, when I kind of got a few days to think about it, I read some articles. I was like, you know what though, it makes sense that he didn't sign with us and he signed with the Cubs. First, obviously it's a job. You're gonna take the job with more money.
Yeah.
Not because you prefer one team over the other, just because you're trying to think for the best of your family.
Yeah.
And the Cubs offered him, I think, $20 million more.
Plus a $30 million
signing
bonus.
So that was something.
Yeah.
Also, he had the respect from the Cubs because his original GM, Theo Epstein, is now the Cubs GM. So the guy that brought him into the organization, he has probably trust more than Ben Cherington would. And then I would say, while the Red Sox did respect him, after a ridiculous season that he had and an amazing postseason, I think that to lowball him at $70 million per year at the beginning of the season, and then trade him in July to the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that broke off ties with him already. No matter how many times John Henry wanted to go down to Atlanta and meet with his agents the night before he made the decision, and the night that he made the decision, it was just kind of, I think he had already made his choice. He just probably was second guessing himself. But I think it's good to see the Red Sox have at least made some bullpen moves since then, and hopefully they'll continue to make some more moves, because the pitchers we have are none of them are aces, but at least it's a start, which is what we needed. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on the money aspect of things. I mean, obviously when you're offered $20 million more just up front and then a $30 million signing bonus, that's gonna help sway your decision a little bit. And I think in the back of our minds, I think a lot of people knew right off the top that Lester probably wasn't coming back. I think we hoped that maybe he would change his mind, given sort of his history with the Red Sox, the fact that he came up for the organization and all that. But it is a business, like you said. I think that really comes down to, you gotta think of your family, and we've seen in the past some of the great Red Sox, or even players that came up for like Jacoby Ellsbury comes to mind. Players
Johnny Damon,
who were great Red Sox, were really loyal, but then end up getting more money elsewhere, and it's unfortunate, but it happens. I wish the best for John Lester. I think he did great. I appreciate what he did for the team, helping us win 2 World Series championships in his time here. all that he had to overcome, beating cancer and all that great stuff. He's always going to be a favorite of mine, no matter what. And like I said, I wish him the absolute best. Kyle, let me throw it to you. Sort of your thoughts on that whole thing with him
No.
leaving and going to Chicago.
It is sad to see good players like him go, but at the same time, I think that they could have picked a worse team for him to be on. To be honest, I do respect the Chicago Cubs, because like the Red Sox, they're kind of underdogs, like the Red Sox were about 10 years ago. So I don't know, maybe with him on the team, maybe they'll help the
Reverse
team
the curse.
Yeah, he'll help reverse their curse. How about that?
Their curse of now 106 years.
Yeah,
There you
1908.
go.
Curse
Yeah.
of the Billy Goat.
Maybe he'll get them going. Maybe they'll get their saddle up year, and maybe they'll, I don't know. You never know. They could pull one in for the World Series, but
We're pulling for you, Cubs.
Yeah, Cubs.
Go worse for first.
If it's not the Red Sox, I'm rooting for the Cubs. I'll be honest.
Yes. All right. Well, certainly a somber moment, but at the same time, it's life. Not everything's going to go our way, so we just got to move on. And we are going to move on to the end part of our episode, our monologues. And Scott, as we always do when we have special guests on here, I will let you go first to take it away.
How long do these last? I'm just.
Like a minute
I don't
or
want
two.
to go over time.
Like a minute or two.
Okay. So first,
That's what we try for
I
at
don't know
least.
what you want.
Yeah.
So first, because I'm a big RIT hockey fan, I would like to give a big shout out to Matt Garbaski, senior Matt Garbaski. He's now the lead goal scorer in the country right now with 14 goals. So
Nice.
he's starting off his senior season very well. He had 3 goals.
Putting our team on the map.
Had three goals last weekend against Niagara in the home series. So that's a big. He just keeps firing them in the net, and they keep going in. So
He's got it.
he's got it. And then, so I don't know if anybody else has heard, but I'm kind of liking the rumors that the Bruins might get the 2016 Winter Classic seed.
Ooh.
So if it comes back to the Bruins, I think I would be happy with wherever they played, either Fenway Park or Foxborough, or I think the BC Football Stadium is one of them on the list. Maybe the Harvard Stadium. I think now that I've been to one outdoor hockey game, I definitely want to go back to another one. And I don't think they're doing. I haven't heard that they're doing Fenway this year, so it would be at least nice to
Have something to look forward to, right?
have something to look forward to. And I guess as I stay on the Bruins, as David Krejci comes back, hopefully they can figure out a way to get some wins, because they need some wins. Right now they're actually in the 9th seed in the playoffs, so they're not actually in. But,
Still a lot of
but
hockey
there's still
left,
a lot of hockey left. But they got some work to do. So let's see.
Alright, so very nice.
That's it.
Yeah, well said. For mine's gonna be very short, sweet, to the point. Want to throw a big shout out to the New England Patriots. Yesterday, we're filming this on Monday. So yesterday, clinched their 6th straight AFC East championship with a victory over the Miami Dolphins. This team this year started off kind of so-and-so. They were 2-2, but now they've just completely turned the corner. They've won 9 out of their last 10 games, and I just could not be happier. I think this team has a great shot at making the Super Bowl, especially if they get the number 1 seed, which it looks like they will, because they're facing the Jets and Buffalo the last 2 weeks, team that they should beat very easily.
But Buffalo just beat beat the Packers, so we do have to.
Buffalo's at home though, so I'm not.
It's
and
true.
We
It's
have
true.
we haven't lost in Gillette in a while. So knock on
keep
wood.
that
Knock
going.
on wood right here.
Knock
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
wood.
in this wood right here. Hands actually made out of wood too, so we're good.
But just wanted to throw a shout out to them. Congratulations, you guys. Go get the #1 seed. So Denver has to come here for the AFC Championship game because we all know how well, I say that sarcastically, Peyton Manning does in cold weather games. So in Foxborough.
And how well he does in Foxborough.
Exactly. So that's mine. So Kyle, you're gonna take us home here. What have you got for us? Nothing.
I couldn't think of much, but I just wanted to say just a little poem here, based on what I said earlier. If you're gonna throw, don't ever go in the snow. Plus tonight's forecast, a freeze is coming. That's all I want to say. I just want to say something.
You had to drive. I knew you were probably gonna
I
drop
had
that
to,
line at
because
some point this episode.
We're talking about snow and cold, so
It's okay.
I have to do our own.
It works. It worked very well.
Oh, thank you.
You're,
I'm glad you guys are very chill about this. That's awesome.
I hope-
Pretty cool.
I hope the snow comes because in 11 days I'll be going skiing out west,
Ooh.
and they need some
Sweet.
snow.
Yeah.
So
always
Rooting-
helps when
rooting
you
for
go
that.
skiing in the snow.
Yes.
everybody do your snow dance because we need some. Just out in Utah, and I guess you guys can stay. You guys can stay pretty bare here.
Try, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you for coming on. We really enjoyed having you, and you're, like we say to all our guests, you're welcome back anytime. So
Sounds good.
So that's gonna do it for this edition of On the Couch Talking Sports. Again, hope you all enjoyed. For Sky and for Kyle, I'm Robbie. Saying so long here from the couch. We'll see you next time.
Cool pod. Actually, there's a little bit of glare.
All
Oh,
right.
here we go. You got it. All right, here we
do
go.
you want to shut off and do the sound?
It has like a weird. Look at this. It has like a weird frame to it. Do you think we should? Do you want to leave it like that, or do you want to work on these?
Let's work on. I feel like working on those just. I don't know. What do you? I mean, it doesn't look that bad.
What is
It's
but-
not
this?
bad. Although there is like some kind of like weird. Yeah, actually,
Light?
it is kind of weird.
You know, let's.
Yeah.
You
Maybe we'll
want me to
just-
shut the back ones off?
Yeah. Try to shut the back ones.
Yo, Tango and Purple.
the dark. Rachel.
Where's the detonator?
Where is she? Where's the trigger? You're never gonna
Is that too much of a? Is that too much of a glare?
Maybe on Scott's side. Yeah.
Where's our gosh?
Here,
Yeah,
should
maybe
we
a
like?
white
Can we
knight.
turn it down a little bit?
He's right there.
No.
A white knight.
No?